Hey everyone, Kelly here, and I'm going to do a really quick video today where I just kind of look at my goals for 2025 and am I reading the things I said I was going to read. At the beginning of the year, I had created two lists. I had a 25 books to read in 2025 and then a list of big books I wanted to read, and I wanted to read 12 big books off of my shelves. So it was all about reading books I already own, reading down my TBR. And the books that I picked for the 25 to read in 2025 were all books that I bought last year. So when I got to the end of 2024, I had 25 books left that I had bought last year. And so I was like, oh, perfect. 25 books to read this year. And I feel like I am crushing that list. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the ones that I've read so far, and I'm just going to put them in categories of how much I rated them, because I think that's kind of interesting, because since these were all books I bought last year, I'm like, one, I'm excited that I'm reading the books that I just bought, and am I enjoying them? Am I picking for myself books that I will enjoy, and did I end up liking what I had purchased last year? And then I will talk about the ones I hadn't read so far. So out of those 25 books, I have read 15 books so far. We are halfway through the year, and I am past halfway through the list. So I feel a little pat on the back for that. I'm not the best always at following TBRs, but it also shows that I'm excited to be reading the things I bought last year. So I'm excited that I have passed the halfway point on this goal. And I had 3 books of those that I gave 3 stars. That's the lowest ratings. So none of the books from that list were 1 star or 2 star, but I have 3 books that I read that are 3 stars. One I already gave on to somebody else that would like it better, and that was Amber and Clay. This is a middle grade historical book, and I passed it on to somebody that I think will appreciate it much better than me. Wasn't a bad book, but 3 stars for me. Another one that wasn't a bad book, but just turned out to not be for me in terms of the characters, was The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. That was 3 stars, just okay for me. And the one that was 3 stars, but kind of a disappointing 3 stars, because there were this is a short story collection, and some of the short stories were terrible, but then some were really good. So it kind of feels, I settled at a 3, but some of them were really hard to get through. So those are the 3 books that I rated 3 stars that I would kind of say were not great. But then I had a bunch of 4 stars, a bunch of books that I really enjoyed. They just weren't quite favorites, but really solid. So one I read recently was An Ember in the Ashes for 4 stars. I had a couple romances that were really fun and enjoyable. So cozy fantasy romances, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. This one's a sequel, beginning of a series, continuing both of these. So those were both 4 stars and fun. I had a couple middle grade books that I rated 4 stars. This is The Way Past Winter by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. And this was family kind of drama fantasy. And then The Forest of a Thousand Eyes by Frances Harding. And this one was kind of more folktale type of story, pretty short with pictures. And then I had a couple myth-based things that I gave 4 stars. Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. I pretty much have enjoyed everything I've read so far by Jennifer Saint, and this was no different. And then Divine Might by Natalie Haynes. This is nonfiction about goddesses in Greek mythology, and really enjoyed this one too. So 4 stars on those. And then I had 2 nonfiction that I gave 4 stars. Unraveling What I Learned About Life While Shearing Sheep, Dyeing Wool, and Making the World's Ugliest Sweater by Peggy Ornstein. And sometimes I think I should move this to 5 stars, because I talk about this a lot to people in real life, because it just was really interesting. I would recommend that one. And then How Far the Light Reaches, A Life in 10 Sea Creatures by Sabrina Embler. And this is more like a memoir / some scientific stories while telling Sabrina's memoir. So those were my 4 stars. So quite a lot of them were 4 stars. And then I had 3 5 stars from this list. The most recent was Six of Crows. Really enjoyed this, and so then I went out and bought the second one. The Serviceberry by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I feel like she can do no wrong. Her books are excellent. And then Illuminations by T. Kingfisher. This is one of her middle grade novels that is written under her adult pen name, because my daughter's over there. She also read it. I passed it on to her afterwards and she gave a thumbs up. We both love this. This is middle grade, but it's a bit creepy in places, which is why it's under her like adult name instead of what she usually writes her children's books under. But I think this could be fine for an older kid. My daughter's 10 and she loved it, but she also likes a little bit of creepy sometimes. So those are my 5 stars. So those are the 15 books that I read off of that list. So that means I have 10 more books to read this year. One of them I am in the middle of. I have Alebrijes by Dana Barbara Higuera, and I have started this one. So that one is happening soon. That's a sci-fi middle grade. And then sometimes it's nicer to put these in categories, but then I noticed pretty much all these are the same category. They're almost all fantasy except for this one. I have a short story collection, Counting Descent by Clint Smith. And this is tiny, so I could definitely sit down and read this at any point. But I think I've been putting this off because I want something that I could just read quickly, where the rest of these will take a little longer since they're full-length novels. So there was not an excuse not to read this. I think I'm just kind of saving it in case I need something quickly to read at the end of the year. And then the rest of these are all fantasy, but we can sort them in the fact that these are all Goose Girl retellings, which is why I had bought them, because I thought I was going to do a video about that, which I can still do because I'm definitely going to be reading Little Thieves soon, because I made a plan to buddy read the second book. So I need to read this in the next like month or so I can buddy read the second book with somebody else. And then I have Sorcerer Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, which I love T. Kingfisher, obviously. The other one I gave 5 stars to. So this will happen, but I think it's like I was putting off all the Goose Girl ones. And then I have Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith, another Goose Girl retelling. And then if we're talking about retellings, I also have Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott, and this is a Baba Yaga retelling. And I think I had read another Baba Yaga retelling, and so then I didn't want to read them back to back. So yeah, that'll happen. I have a sequel that I need to get to, Hearts That Cut by Kika Hatzopoulou. And I really enjoyed the first book when I read it last year, so I need to get to that one soon. I have a book by an author I loved before, The Maid and the Crocodile by Jordan Ifueko. I really loved Ray Bear, that duology. So needs to happen in the second half of the year. And then, oh, actually one of these is sci-fi. So the last fantasy is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. I hear great things about the series. The only thing that's keeping me from reading this is because it's so big, but it's also on my big books list, so I should do that. And then the last one is a sci-fi mystery, The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. So those are the 10 I haven't read yet, but I still have time. I still have 6 whole months. I could do it. If I've read 15 in 6 months, I can read these 10 in 6 months. I think it's that a lot of them were retellings. Maybe I need to spread those out, so I'll read Little Thieves soon and can spread the other ones out. Yeah, so feeling good about that. I did not pull all the books off my shelves for my big books TBR, because even though I do want to read 12 big books this year, I have been reading, sometimes I've been kind of picking some ones that weren't on that list. But at this point, I've only read 4 of the 12 books from that list. But like I said, we're only halfway. I should be 2 books farther, but I am in the middle of 2 of those books. So getting close to half. But yeah, I didn't pull them all off because I got tired of pulling all the books off my shelf, and they're big, so that would be a lot. And I'm also not being as strict. I really want to make sure I'm reading the books that I just bought. So that's why this 25 and 25 was important to me. The big books was just to encourage me to read some of these things that I feel intimidated by and pushing off, and I have been reading some of them. Like I said, 4 of the 12, so 1/3 so far. So I would like to continue to read them. I don't want to like get to the end of the year and find out I've still only read 4, or even finish 6 if I finish those 2 that I have started. I would like to be a little farther along, but yeah, I think the 25 and 25 is the most important goal. And that's it. That's it for me. I'm feeling good about where I am on the lists I make. So many times when I made lists last year, I definitely wasn't this far along. I had not accomplished it. I think it's because I was just pulling random things off my shelf. I think this like making the books that I just bought be my TBR makes a lot of sense because I was excited enough to buy them just last year. where there are other books on my shelves from years ago that maybe I'm just not as excited about anymore. So putting them on a yearly TBR is less motivating. So I think I'm gonna do the same thing next year, where my books to read in 2026 will be ones I bought this year, keeping up the momentum of buying my newer purchases. And that's it for me. I will see you next time. Bye.